this is a character that lives so much in the future, in the what if, in fear, that there's no room for anything else. I mean, that's what I find interesting about the movie or the character. I'm sorry, I have a cold, so I'm talking like a little extra like me. And, because I think that people will either have empathy for her or sympathy for her or just total disdain. And what you come away with has everything to do with the prism of your own experience through which you are seeing this movie. And I love that. That's what I like about art, you know, so...
That what she was afraid of became the truth of her existence.
Right, so she, you know, they say if you live in the past, that's depression, and if you live in the future, that's anxiety, and that's why we're supposed to live in the present moment as much as we can.
So that we're both anxious and depressed?
Well, like ideally, you're just in the moment, you know, but that's something that we all have to only just practice. Nobody's really great at it. But she lives completely in the future of what if, the horror stories we tell ourselves. And so there isn't room for anything else like being the mother she wants to be or hope. And it becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy. And with that just glimmer of when everything is lost, the one thing she can control is the destruction she has over her own life. And there's just that one glimmer of just what she can do without thinking or without terrifying, you know, without talking herself out of it with fear is just the bags and the drawing and the sandwich and the meditative kind of ritual things that a mother does. So it just seemed like a good something that would bring more to it, you know.
Your coming onto this movie followed a slightly unusual path in that you got a copy of the book, read the book, were interested in what it would be as a movie, and committed to that idea before there was a screenplay, before there was a director.
I had nothing to lose. You know what? Will you attach yourself to this movie? Yeah, sure. I mean, most movies don't get made, so it never occurred to me this movie would get made. And I just said, I didn't even have to have a think about it. I was like, yeah, sure, yeah.
Well, then what happens when they call you and they say it is getting made?
A couple years later, I got an email, a bulk email of everyone involved saying, we have the money, we're making this is happening. And I replied all and wrote, yay! I remember I was in my bathroom and I pressed send. And then I just kind of descended into this ball on the bathroom, the bath mat of my bathroom. And I thought, I can't do this. You know, and and in my full body panic attack, I realized that I could do it because I was doing it. That's Lainey. Lainey is living in the future of fear,
right,
of what if, of I can't, and so I kind of proved to myself in a ball on the floor that I can do this.
One of the things that you just mentioned is that people are going to have different experiences watching the movie. They're going to think differently about Lainey, about what they think of her and what they think of her behavior. I'm curious, from reading the book to committing to making the movie, to filming the movie, to watching the movie, did your relationship with Lainey evolve as well, or was it always fixed in terms of how you saw her?
I think to a degree, you have to always be on your character's side as an actor, because I've heard a lot of actors say that on Inside the Actor. What I want, and to a degree, I do feel that way, and I wanted to play her as real and concise and as objectively as possible, because I thought it was important that people see this movie and see this person the way we see all people, just in the context of our own experience of what we know. And so yeah, I had stuff to draw on from my own life. I've navigated depression in my own life. I haven't struggled with addiction, but I'm a comedian, so I'm surrounded by it. And
by comedians who are fighting to be sober.
by comedians, by a lot of people in the audience, by the people who come up to you after, and it's just kind of everywhere, you know, in that world, that nighttime world.
And how does that help you as an actor, being around people who are struggling with sobriety, or being around people who are really trying to stay focused and stay part of the world?
Well, one thing that I noticed about drunk people is their job is to act not drunk. So that's always interesting, because acting is most interesting when you feel something and you're covering that feeling, and Lainey totally exists in that. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting to see. It's interesting to take in. It can also be very unpleasant for me. I'm a teetotaler and sometimes stoner, but human behavior is interesting to me. I'm lucky. I got an incredible therapist, and I've learned so much about myself and people and watching people, and it's helped me in what I do completely.
Part of the challenge in the adapting of this book is the book is very largely an inner monologue. There's not a lot of dialogue. There's certainly events, and those events are preserved in the book. But I think one of the challenges of adapting this book, and I think your screenwriters did it very well, is making sure that there wasn't judgment brought to bear, both in how the audience would see Lainey, and I think more specifically how her husband would treat her. When you're talking to your collaborators and talking to Josh about the marriage, about the relationship at the center of this film, what were the kinds of things that you wanted to talk about that you were really focused on preserving from the book?
I don't know. We had talked about a lot of things that we wanted to know about ourselves that isn't, you know, a part of the movie, like that maybe we had worked together, that we that I had worked with him in insurance, that we had built something together, and that when I became a mother, housewife, I started judging him, and that was really helpful for him and for me, you know, and you know, a lot of looking down at someone comes from how you feel about yourself, of course. Mm-hmm. So it was stuff that was very helpful just in how you played stuff, like when I was at dinner with his clients, or, you know, that kind of demeaning behavior that it comes from feeling shitty about yourself and who you are. And, you know, it's the bully behavior, you know, or when people go like, you think you're better than me? That's because you think I'm better than you. You know, like that, that's how you feel. That's not a quote from my actual life, but you might experience it.